Most people start posting on social media to make a name for themselves. You started because you gave up on yourself.
Yeah.
How do you make sense of that?
Uh, a lot of people talk about this law of detachment thing, and I don't really buy into any of that stuff. But as a concept of detaching and being a little distant from the outcome, I do think that frees you up. Um, when I was first writing short stories and writing ideas for movies and stuff, I just didn't really know where it would go. It was kind of hopeless to do that. Um, and I think I was also very precious about this image of being a really good writer, like being talented. And the image that you have of yourself can really be a bit of a jail because you want to protect that idea of yourself, and if you try and fail, that idea it crumbles, right? And so, along with not knowing what to do with my short stories or with my writing, and having this idea of being an artiste, right? It also prevented me from trying.
Mm.
And so I think at a certain point, I think I was 23, 22. Um, I just gave up. I thought, hey, this COVID thing, I don't know how long it'll last. Maybe the end of the year. Who knows? And it just started, and I'm thinking, all right, here's the plan. I'm gonna download TikTok, and I'm going to make a portfolio of videos so that I can show an ad agency. And by the end of the year, when this COVID thing's over, I'm gonna get a job at Ogilvy. That's who I wanted to work for. And so I just started doing dad jokes, and at a certain point, I ran out of material to copy from, so I had to come up with my own stuff. And what happened was I wasn't really trying to have a voice. I wasn't trying to be funny necessarily. I was just trying to make commercials in a lot of ways. And what happens with quantity, because I was making like 3 videos a day at that time, it is that inevitably parts of you just um, start to upload into the videos, into the work. And so I think if you were forced to make 3 videos a day and you didn't care about the outcome, you weren't actually worried about views or anything, that's honesty in a lot of
Mm.
ways. Like in a lot of ways, it's more honest than what I do now, which is what I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to make it come out right. But at the time, I didn't care. And because I didn't care, it was all this subconscious flow. And that was the honest stuff. Yeah.
How do you go about understanding giving up now? Like, has that taken on new language for you? I know, like, you just shared that you don't like law of detachment or that type of
Yeah.
language. Does it feel like a surrendering to your life, or how do you think your relationship has evolved with that?
Now?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, now I kind of struggle with, it's just a different kind of thing now. Now I'm trying to make it good to my own, I guess to my own standards. Like I want to make something, and if I was a viewer, if I was a consumer of this, I would want to consume this. I would stay for it. And that's a lot harder to do now because, your taste is always changing.
Mm.
But I do feel that pressure to post or that pressure to write simply for the sake of it, as opposed to I have something to say. And how do you get out of that tailspin? I'm not really sure. I think it's just maybe it's just going back to the way I started, where you just don't care about the outcome and you just do without worrying if it's bad or good. And
Mm.
so maybe that's the way. But it takes discipline to make bad stuff.
I think to really appreciate your work,
Yeah.
you can't actually start with what you've created. I think we need to start with the environment that created you. What was it like growing up in Missouri and being homeschooled your entire life?
I would mainly describe it as solitary. when you grow up in the Midwest, kind of in the middle of nowhere, what happens is there's not a whole lot of distraction. So it's an empty, silent forest, right? It's an empty, silent field. And what happens with that is that you're forced to confront yourself. Whereas if you live in a city, you have to catch the bus, you have to catch the train, you have to not be hit by the cabs, you have to, um, you know, avoid people and there's all sorts of things that can pull your mind away from you and what am I doing with my life? And when you grow up in the Midwest, there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to distract yourself. So for me, we also didn't have TV. We didn't have cable TV. We didn't have internet either. And so there was not a whole lot of distraction. We were bored a lot of the times, but not really like bored by today's standards. But at the time, we watched VHS tapes and we would watch DVD movies and read.
When I started viewing your work and consuming it, my gut instinct or the term that came to mind for me is like, oh, I'm like, this guy's got pre-digital energy.
Yeah.
And then I started doing a little bit more of a research on you, and when I learned that you got homeschooled in Missouri, I'm like, oh, like this makes complete sense. And how do you see your creative style, not so much as a choice, but as a state of being? Because I
Uh,
feel like we get into this mindset that we choose what feels good,
uh,
or we choose our creative style or what feels most
uh,
natural and authentic
mm.
for us to create. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it's something deeper within us that just naturally comes out.
Yeah, actually, I was in a meeting yesterday, and someone that kind of asked me that. They were like, "What would the style from the internet would all that translate into TV or film or like for the next project?" And it's a weird question because I don't really decide that in a lot of ways. I don't have I think I have a shtick only in hindsight.
Mm,
I think that's the case with a
yep.
lot of people. I don't think it's designed.
Hmm.
You just are, and you try and create as honestly as you can, and whatever that is, whatever that honesty is, that's now your style. But I didn't input those styles beforehand, you know? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it
Yeah.
100% does, because what I find so interesting is, when we're adults, we can architect our environment to facilitate creativity for ourselves.
Mhm.
But when we're kids, our environment is kind of just like, hey, this is what I got.
Mhm.
On a universal type of level, how do you think that, like what manifests for us as adults, especially within our work, especially within the creative fields, really goes back to that childhood environment?
I think, this is the thing psychologists will have been grappling with since the beginning of psychology, the study of psychology. So I don't know if I could mm, touch on that on like a medical point of view, but I guess from my point of view, I think people try and chase what wasn't there as a child and into their adulthood. Like for some reason, am obsessed with this idea of missing out on high school and college. I've always wanted that John Hughes movie of growing up with your gang, and maybe you were the nerds or the dorks or the not so cool kids, and you would have lunch in the football stadium, like watching football practice. You would have this incredible summer right before everyone graduates and goes on with their own life, and then that John Hughes story, I'm obsessed with it because I never had it, and I keep looking for it in everything, and I don't know how it will ever resolve, if I'm being honest, because there's not a version of that in adulthood that you can have. Like, yeah, you have work friends, you have community that you can artificially create now, but it's not the same as that at that sort of high school age no one knows what they're really doing with their life. Everyone's insecure, everyone's unsure, everyone's afraid. Um, you'll have that really again. It's like that saying in, Stand By Me. I never had better friends than I had when I was 12 years old. Hell does anybody who does? And that's so true. That is so true. The only friends that I really grew up with were from Boy Scouts. And yeah, I met him when I was like 12. And we're still friends. Like I was telling you, the guy that got married in Missouri, yeah, I went to his wedding.
Mm.
And so we're still really great friends, and they're the friends you have when you were 12. And so to me, I look at that and I think, oh wow, what would it have been in high school? What did I actually miss out on? Yeah. And yet, every time I say that to people, every person I meet is confused because everyone had a terrible high school
Yeah,
experience.
like you didn't miss out on anything.
Yeah, everyone says that. So maybe it's just the movies. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, does it feel almost, in a sense, like it's impossible for you to find that because you don't know what that
Yeah,
innate feeling was
I
back
think
then?
so. I think so. I think it's just you can try and find supplements of it now, but I don't think you can ever find that again because I think those movies exist for a reason, and that feeling and that magic of being an unsure teenager and suffering through that with your people together. I don't know what can replace that.
Mm.
I don't know what can replace that last look in Breaking Bad as they're going up in opposite ways up the escalator.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Do you feel like you've been able to turn it into something that can serve you?
Mm, I think so. I mean, I don't know if I could consciously pinpoint where it has. I think I wrote a book. It was a short story collection, and a lot of people thought I wrote that based off what pseudo happened in my life, and it's actually the opposite. It's actually what didn't happen, but what I wished happened.
Mm.
In the book, it's like Seinfeld, but in college, basically. It's a guy and his friends. I didn't have that. I didn't have friends like that, but that's the fantasy. So yeah, I guess in that way, it does give you some fuel.
Going back to that idea that you shared earlier about, what we didn't get in our childhood is what we try to create within our adult life. I actually went on a retreat here in Austin where there was an exercise that we did with the retreat leader where he calls it the reason for being, and it goes through this whole meditative, reflective process. And that was the overarching idea of just like what you didn't get within your childhood is what you try to get within your career, relationships,
Mhm.
etc., and what you also want to give to the world.
Yeah, yeah. It's that it's that urge to finish something. It's that urge to fill in some empty space.
Mhm.
It's like reading a story halfway through you stop. We have this innate urge to want to know what the end is. Um, Kind of like on videos on social media. I have this really bad habit of just watching everything in two speed. And it's so crazy because I'm not sure if I'm even interested in the middle. I just want to get to the end.
Mm.
And I think that's what this is you grow up with certain parts missing through not necessarily through anyone's fault. Like it's not necessarily your parents' fault or necessarily
Just is.
it just kind of is. Yeah. And when you grow up with those missing pieces, you just have this really human urge to find that missing piece in the puzzle. Mm.
The environment definitely has allowed you, like you were saying, you're able to use the environment for your creative work.
Mm.
There have been, from my perspective, some opposing forces to that creativity in a way. One of them, self-help books.
Yeah.
What was it about self-help books that was so appealing to you that you got to the point that you said you were addicted to them?
I don't know. Okay, yes, actually, I do know. It was self-help books hype you up and it makes you feel like you did the things without doing the things. And so
Gets you to the end.
it gets you to the end, yeah. It flips to the very last page and it says you're amazing. And you feel great and you feel so accomplished and you didn't do any of the work. Actually, you read about it and it hypnotized you in a way. Also, it was escapism for me. So self-help books, they tend to be about the future. They tend to be about how you can live a better life. It's somewhere over the rainbow. And if everything's over the rainbow, you don't necessarily have to focus on the now or the past. It's always about to happen, and you can always live in that state of potential. It's about to. And, it's like, it's like it's a form of fantasy because you get to be this you get to be this dream version of yourself without doing the work to be the dream version of yourself. You're closing your eyes and hypnotizing yourself into being someone you're not, but someone you want to be. And the more you clarify this image of this ideal self, the more you realize how different you are from this guy. And then there's this huge crash that happens in you. And I felt awful. I felt like, oh my God, I've been in this weird state of potential for a very long time. And it's supplemented doing.
Mm.
It's supplemented action.
I find with books, podcasts, things that we think as good media, at the end of the day, it can still just be consumption. Like I still
Yeah.
see it as, okay, this could be as good as me just scrolling through TikTok or whatever, because we can think we're getting educated, we have this education, but going to you were saying, like not doing education without action, I believe like that's just consumption at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's I don't know if you've ever done this, but have you ever scrolled through videos and interviews that educate and help you, and then you feel exhausted by the end of the day?
When I was younger, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You going to what you're saying, you think you're making progress.
yeah. Oh,
In
yeah.
actuality, you're just revving in place.
I would have days where I would just spend a whole day planning my life. And it sounds great in theory, but really it's a supplement. Did I follow through on any of those plans? No. I didn't even wake up early the next morning.
Mm.
It was just the feeling of it. Just the feeling of having, I'll wake up at this hour and work this hard, and by the end of the year, I'll have this many things done. And it just feels amazing in the moment. And in reality, does it actually help you? No, I don't think it does. I think the only thing that helps you is accepting that you're not extraordinary whatsoever and that you're not special. Good things won't necessarily happen to you if you do the hard work.
Mm.
It's about this humility of destroying this ideal self and tearing it down and realizing, hey, I'm just me. It's like that line in Wall Street. I don't know if you've ever seen it, where he just says, maybe I'm just Bud Fox, and no matter how much I wanted to be Gordon Gekko, I'm just Bud Fox in the end, and that's his character arc. And I feel like that's that.
It's freeing.
Yeah, it's so freeing, but it takes a lot of struggle and suffering and just pain to humble yourself to get to that point. And I think that you can't just mentally humble yourself either. You have to work and fail. And failure is what humbles and carves you down into who you actually are. And then when you decide who you actually are, or at least when you're like cut down to who you really are, then you can grow. Then you can be,
Do you think that was a completely willing process for you to be able to break out of that shell in a way? Or do you think there were unwilling forces that forced you out of it?
It feels unwilling. I don't know if it was, but it really felt unintentional and unwilling. It's so strange because I like the way I describe it is that it's the first time I ever gave up on something. I gave up on a dream. The dream actually happened. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's an unseen force or what, but it sure felt like there was some invisible hand.
Mm. Going back to the relationship with your work and detaching, So when you're younger and you have this kind of perfectionist mindset you were talking about earlier of, oh, nobody gets me and nobody gets my work, but then that kind of shifts into, oh, I'm not that special, and people do start connecting with your work. So it seems like you've always been like creating for yourself, but there's that shift in energy from kind of like I am special to I'm not special. Was there like a certain moment where you felt like something really clicked for that to happen, or gradual process?
I guess so. I was 23 and I just didn't have anything going for me. There was no future. So I thought, hey, well, it's I'm gonna quit because it's not like I have anything to lose. It's not like I'm quitting anything. It's like I started at the bottom and I'm still there, you know? So,
And how quickly did it go from you feeling like you were giving up to, oh, I'm building something here?
it actually took about 6 months. It was quick actually, but it was constant work. Like it's all those 6 months were a blur. I
Mm.
mean, I was writing 3 videos a day and writing short stories at the same time and working on a book. So it was just blinding work and it was all a blur. I just don't remember it. And so it kind of happened quick, but I also had, I didn't have overnight success. I had to build like 3 videos a day for 6 months is a lot of work.
Especially with the style that you do,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really impressive.
It was unsustainable. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not healthy, but that is what happened. I think that was the secret, I think. Yeah.
And that felt like, I need to do this, or it just felt like right?
It was first it felt like I needed to do this. I was like, "All right, I'm gonna get a job by the end of this year." And then when I was in it and in the blur of it, it felt more important to do it because for the first time I felt like I was good at something. And I really enjoyed being good at something like everyone does. And it was it was just the process of it. I just had to do it and it felt good to do it whether or not it got any traction.
Mm.
The traction was just the sugar on top, if I'm being honest. Like when you're making at that pace, you don't actually have time to stew in the results. You have to you actually are just so stressed about the next one, the next one, the next one that you don't count, and that was really good for me in hindsight because now you count, and now you wonder, oh, I have to match that or beat that or whatever, and you know,
How big of a library did you build up for yourself from filming something to it posting?
there was none. It was like day by day. Yeah, it
What
was.
so, I mean, what would a day in your life look like?
I would wake up at around 7 and start writing. And I'd write 2 or 3 a day. And at the time, TikTok and those short form platforms weren't allowing anything past a minute. And so I would generally try and write for a minute, which is not it's actually pretty hard, but it's not impossible. So what can happen is you could write like a 2-minute piece and then you cut it up into 1 and 2, right? So it's really a
Mm.
one piece that you is now 2 pieces. Um, and I would just start filming until maybe sometimes like 2 a.m. into the night. Um, and then it was just like a train, just nonstop. And I would post whenever I was done with it, post. Yeah. Um, but yeah,
I mean, in a way, you were creating, like, minimum viable products. You know that term? You've heard that term before? It's like
I've heard
with
that term before.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
within
but
entrepreneurship, you're like, "Alright, we're not making the perfect thing. We just need to create something so it can get feedback or,
yeah,
like, get it out into the world, and then it'll get better through the process of getting feedback and people seeing it."
exactly. I mean, it's like I heard a saying with entrepreneurs that it requires a certain level of naivete to start a business or to chase a big dream, because if you knew better, you wouldn't try, because you
Mm.
know the odds are so stacked against you that you would just never make that bet. And there is something to this blind work. Just close your eyes and go. Don't think about it. That really, there is some magic to it, because that's your writing school. That's your film school. You learn to do it through all that. Like, quantity creates the quality, and hiding behind that quality over quantity thing, to me, I hid behind it out of insecurity. I was just I thought I was an artiste, and I thought quality over quantity because my stuff's good, even though I don't make that much. But really, yeah, was it good? No, it was just a defense mechanism, and I was trying to cope with the fact that I didn't have anything going for me, and that I wasn't an artist or I wasn't a writer. I wrote more in a month than I did in probably like 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how, making when you're making videos online, you're writing every single day, and you have like a seemingly infinite number of shots at it too. Yeah, and so it's really good to train.
I mean, it seems like time constraint became like a real positive force for you then, from the standpoint of both, okay, this can only be a minute,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
also wanting to keep up with that pace of posting that much every day.
yeah. I'd say I did. Um, yeah, I'd say so. And then it got to a point where I wasn't enjoying that as much. Um, the quantity over quality is really good for success and metrics, but then it's just not fulfilling. At a certain point, I just wanted to I wanted to make things that I enjoyed.
Becomes a game of endurance.
Yeah, yeah, and I just didn't wanna do that anymore, so I changed it up, and then now I can just do what I want. I just, I focus on quality, at least in writing. For filming, I do sort of speed that up a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, what was the process like of shifting your energy away from short form video creation to, okay, now I'm not posting as much and I'm actually going to focus on long form writing again and creating your book?
Mm. It's actually a hard shift, because writing for short form, it's so different, because you're writing for a crowd that will turn away within 3 seconds if they don't like you. I like to equate short form with, vaudevillian acts in the 1920s and even prior. Back then, they would have a variety of things on stage. It would be dancers, magicians, comedians, and if you weren't good, they'd throw tomatoes at you, right? And then next one, next one. All right, bring on the dancing girls, right? And what happened was it trained it trained an incredibly competent and talented generation of comedians, because they grew up in vaudeville. They grew up with a medium that would kill you if you didn't kill them first, right? That's the internet. They're going to scroll away if you don't catch their attention. And so it's actually really, really good training when you take it to long form, to not take their attention for granted. Even though they're locked in a seat and they can't leave, don't take that for granted. If you train as a writer, if you train that way in that medium where they're locked in their seat, you come out with a very different thing. And usually, from my experience, you come out with something a bit more indulgent, a bit more slow, and something that pleases you and not them. And that's fine, but
Did it feel ever throughout the writing process of your book like you were shifting back to old habits of kind of like that perfectionist, or do you feel like you had completely detached from it?
I mean, so I wrote the book when I was like 21.
Hmm.
Um, so I was 20 or 21 when I finished it, and then I put it in a sock drawer, and I just didn't look at it for years. And then when I started making videos again, I got management, and they were like, "Hey, do you have, you have a book, right? Like, let's get it published." And I was like, "Oh, great!" And then it took like 2 years to get it. Publishers they move at the speed of snails, and so it was, so during those 2 years, I was rewriting it, and in the rewriting process, I just realized how little this applies to me now, because I wrote it when I was 21, and it doesn't really apply anymore, and so it felt like I was writing something that for a past me, which is an interesting process as well, but it's a past me. So there was not real I don't know if there was any perfectionist tendencies to that.
It's so
But
fascinating how we can look back on past writing, past
yeah.
videos, and it just completely shifts us back into like that is a that is a
Oh,
different person.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a much better attitude about it now. Like, you can appreciate your past stuff now, because at the time I hated it. I hated my work, and to an extent, I hate what I do now sometimes. But you give it time, and then you're a different person, and it's like, I don't even recognize that guy anymore, and then you can appreciate it. You're like, "That hey, good job. That actually wasn't that bad."
Your
You
gut
know?
instinct was always to go to like, I hate that guy. I was never like, oh, look at how much I've grown.
Wait, like, when you read it at the time?
I'm saying like when you look back on that old work, the gut
Yeah.
instinct was like, ah, like that's not bad, instead of like more so like appreciation for
No, it's
yourself. Okay.
appreciation, yeah, but I think at the time, like,
Yeah.
when I wrote it at the time, when I was like, I'm never proud of myself. I'm only proud in hindsight,
Mm,
which I don't think that's unusual.
no.
I think that's natural, but I think what I was trying to do with that book was I was trying to make, like, a nothing story interesting by just creating really good language. I think, Balzac was writing a letter to someone, and he wanted to do that once. So he wanted to write a novel that was really about nothing. The plot wasn't good. It was like vapid, but the writing and the language was rich. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to try that. I want to like make something that's actually it's really about nothing, but it's the word every second is so interesting. You're hypnotized into it. And, I don't know if it did. I don't know if the book did that. I think the language is there, but the characters are not. And I think that's what Balzac failed to mention, is that the characters have to be interesting too.
When it
Yeah.
comes to storytelling, you've shared that your framework is like you need to let the story and the characters become what they naturally want to be, and you can't put your own plan onto them. What does that process actually look like in detaching yourself from characters in a story?
I think it actually goes back to that quantity over quality thing. The energy of quantity over quality is you get caught up in the process, and in the process, you find your sea legs. You suddenly learn to write by writing. Um, you're digging a tunnel. You you're looking for a tunnel by digging a tunnel, and then you look back and you realize, "Oh, there's the tunnel. I just dug it." I think with letting your characters go and letting them write the novel or the movie, it's about quantity. You churn out backstories. You churn out situations that don't necessarily make it in the movie or the novel, but you churn them out to the point where you suddenly know who they are, and suddenly there's this whole backstory behind them, and now there's weight, and and now that you can put them in any situation, and see what they do, and you know what they're gonna do. You don't have to look for it, you know. So that to me is what that means, um, and there's like I found that there's two forms. There's two schools of thought when it comes to writing novels or movies with structure. A lot of the common writing advice you hear is to write the ending first and then structure your whole novel that way. And then the whole Stephen King method is they call it pantsing, which is like writing by the seams of your pants, which is to just start from chapter 1 and go and see where it takes you. I prefer that a lot more. The problem is with that style are endings. And a lot of those writers are ending challenged, and I think I'm kind of ending challenged. That's why I like to do loops in videos. It's easy, but yeah, I don't know how we got off to that track, but yeah.
No, I mean, I was asking you about, detaching from your characters. What's the process for you look like if you're building out this world and creating these characters and sort of like putting yourself within this storytelling world? What's the process look like for you after almost like, okay, detaching from that again and then looking at your writing with objective eyes and editing it?
Hmm. So like the rewriting process?
Yeah. Or just going back over your writing to see what you like, what you don't like, what you want to change.
I think that's where the perfectionist tendencies can come in, actually. It's also common. It's a common cliche that that's actually writing is rewriting. Um, and to me, I agree with that because that's where you can be an artiste about it, and that's where you can really just go off vibes and feel it. You probably have to really structure it out as well, but um, all that slow thinking can finally come in with the rewriting process. So I don't know. To me, I don't know if I have a very specific process of rewriting. I think I like to I'll put it this way. So when I'm writing internet videos, I like to be in public spaces, cafes, workspaces, whatever. When I'm drafting or working on like a long form thing, I like to be alone. I have to. I can't be distracted by anyone else. I have to be with my own thoughts. And I think the reason is when you're writing something long form, you have to know who the characters are and you have to know who you are. And when you're writing for the internet, I'm trying to relate to people and I'm trying to also empathize with their suffering. And it's a lot easier to do that when you're in the energy of others and when you're in that loud, busy space. So what I do notice with rewriting is I like to do it when I'm traveling. For some reason, that helps because travel when you're traveling, that actually speeds time up a little bit, and then, you're in a new place and you can look at it with new eyes, I guess. Yeah.
Is there an environment that you enjoy more than the other when it comes to that writing?
For internet writing,
The internet versus the long form when you're in solitude.
I prefer, being in a public space. Yeah, I prefer that busyness. It kind of in a weird way, like a really loud cafe is the same thing as silence.
Mhm.
At a certain point, you just tune it out. It's that in between thing where you can suddenly hear, Jason Mraz on the speaker system. That's when it gets really distracting. But extremities, extreme silence or extreme noise, and I like the extreme noise actually. It can you know
Soothing in a way.
there's something soothing about it. Yeah, there's more. I think you can channel that frantic energy of just then this idea, then that idea, then this idea, then that idea, and you just look around and start. Yeah,
How has writing for you been what you call a misery you prefer?
because it's hard to say whether it's enjoyable or not. It really is. It's a tough thing. Um, I saw a Kurt Vonnegut interview where he said, "Yeah, I don't like writing. I have to do it. I kind of do it because it's an urge." And it's similar. It's when you journal. Do you enjoy journaling? I guess it's not really why you do it, but it's not unenjoyable, and that to me is writing. It's not that I enjoy doing it or that I would be doing that rather than jumping on a trampoline, but I have to do it because I have these gaps I wanna fill. I have these empty spaces, and I have to figure things out to fill those empty spaces, and I have these questions that, are just weird about the and I wanna answer them, and you can't answer them. There's no answers anywhere, so you gotta come up with something to almost supplement an answer. Like I made a video recently about this guy getting into heaven, and heaven just turns out to be a bureaucracy. And he lived a great life. He was, you know, straight edge, by the book, and he says to God, "It's way too easy to get into heaven. My whole life means nothing. I suffered for nothing because um, I could have just confessed my sins at the end or something, and then I would have been in." And that was a genuine question I had. I remember when I was younger, but making the video and making that writing, it kind of answered it for me. It was like a supplement for for the question. So I wasn't bothered by the question anymore. I'm like, "Oh, I can wake up today and go bowling. I'm fine."
So writing for you, it seems like it's not just a misery that you prefer, but it's also a source for you to put that pain or misery to work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, or to at least figure out what's going on up there. Um, and it's just fun. Like, or not fun, but funny. Like, there's so much about the world that's just doesn't make sense, and it's funny, and a lot of times pain is funny. It's just and I don't know, you just it's that urge to, okay, here's what it is, the urge to write. Yesterday, I was in Office Depot. I had a print job. No one was in there, right? And it's like 3 o'clock. And so while the thing's printing, it's taking a while. So I just start walking around, and I start to realize this is so comforting because I grew up in Office Depots and Home Depots. That was my childhood. Waiting for your parents as they pick up lumber and as they print stuff. And so you would just walk around and I was looking at all the CDs, I was trying out all the furniture, that very certain Office Depot smell. They were still selling CDs of Mavis Bacon typing courses. Um,
Healing.
it's so healing and it's so comfortable, like and I realized what my job was as a writer in that moment. I was like, "Oh, this is so comforting to me. This is so healing. My job is to make other people feel that from this." Most people will come into an Office Depot and it'll be depressing. It'll be sad. It'll be creepy, not comforting. They're not going to see what I see. My job is to see this and to show them what I see. That's what that is. It's like tasting a really good lemon pie and thinking this is incredible, and the urge to tell your friend, "You got to try this." That's the urge to write, is to like, "Oh my god, you got to feel this. You
Mm.
got to feel what I'm feeling right now." It's just terrific. It's an itch.
And it goes to that word feeling instead of thinking.
Mm, I think so. Ray Bradbury would always have a sign above his typewriter that says, "Don't think."
Mm.
He said, "Writing is not for thinking; it's for going." I generally believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think creativity, I mean, for me in this podcast as well, it's about feeling alive, and I feel like that lives more within our body than our head. I feel
Yeah.
like it's so easy to get caught up in thinking about creativity. It lives in our head, lives with our ideas, very intellectual, but there is, I think, a deeply physiological component to it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how did you start your podcast? What was the urge to start it?
I talked about this actually in a recent episode, reflecting on this. The real urge was like I just didn't feel as alive anymore and I'm not talking about like in a dark way, but like the big thing where like I was able to pour myself out was like through working out and the gym. And then I kind of like lost the spark for it. And then I kind of like lost the spark for like feeling alive. I was like, I need to get this back in a way. And I feel like it shifted me going from like a physical pursuit to more of a creative and intellectual pursuit. And pretty quickly, it felt like, oh, I found the thing again. Like
Yeah.
I got that feeling back. And that goes back to what you were saying, when you first started, like it just felt good.
Yeah.
It's easy for us to think of as results of like, all right, what are the external achievements? What are the quantifiable factors that show this as a success? But the real data point is, what does this make me feel like in the moment?
Mm.
And the people think that can tap into that are the ones that then stick with it for the long term.
Yeah. Just building something is, there's something that clicks in the brain that says, "This is right. This is what it means to be a human being." Whenever I'm so puzzled by this climbing thing. I love to climb as well, but there's been this huge surge of people who go to climbing gyms. And it's like, what is it? What is it about climbing that's just so fun? I just feel so human, you know? Like I climbed this mountain. This feels right. This feels correct. And when I go on my phone for an hour scrolling, even though I can't turn away, this feels incorrect. This feels like, I'm not building anything here. I'm just eating. I'm just consuming. And
That was the other big thing for me. It felt like
yeah.
I had gotten into a rhythm of like, man, I am just consuming garbage now.
Mm,
And the podcast was kind of a force for me to put those efforts to consuming better stuff and putting that
mm.
consumption to work so that it could turn into a creation after that.
Yeah. Do you sort of enjoy it regardless of results, or do you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm human though.
Yeah.
Everyone likes to see going back to the climb. You like to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
growing. But similar to you, I learned pretty quickly as well. I'm like, all right, for some reason, this is a pain that feels good
Yeah.
because there's a lot of parts of this work where I'm like, I don't want to be doing this, but for some reason, it still feels good in a way.
Hmm. Yeah. It's the Alyssa Liu, she won, gold for the U.S. in figure skating in the Olympics, and she kind of became a phenomenon because of her attitude towards competition. She loves it. She's just having a great time, and that's just so different from what we usually see with these Olympic athletes, which is something that's quite sad because they're just so blinded by competition and discipline that they're just not even human at a certain point. But she seems so human because she seems like she's having such a good time. And the interviewers asked her a bit more about what she meant by just having fun, and to her, the the treachery of it, like the pain of and the fact that it's hard, that's fun.
Yeah.
She found that fun, and I was like, I think that's what it is. It's not so much that it's it's fun like it's a game. I don't think it's that kind of fun. I think it's fun that it's hard and she's overcoming it. She's overcoming herself. So in a way, like when we say like podcasting or writing, is it fun? Yes, but not the way bowling's fun.
It's a
You
different type of
know,
fun.
that's the second time I've mentioned bowl. I'm not. I'm not a bowling
Big bowler.
fanatic. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, when I take that step back
Yeah,
from the podcasting, I'm assuming you would most likely think this about your writing as well. I'm like, this is boring work. Like, it's just a lot of boring work, me sitting at a desk, sitting in front of a computer.
yeah.
Like, there's nothing, like, truly exciting about it. It's not until you kind of put some of the pieces together, then it becomes something that's a cool creation.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's yeah. This is why it's a lot of filmmakers, a lot of people who go to film school. They learn about cameras mostly, and the urge to make movies as well. A lot of that comes because of people's obsession with cameras, and what's difficult is the harsh reality that so much of filmmaking is good writing. And that can be boring work if what you're used to is tinkering and building. Like that's really exciting. It's actually really cool to tinker with cameras, to tinker with lights, and to um, tinker with a set and to like design a set. That's all so cool and so stimulating. Now, if you're used to that, now you have to like compress it down to like just you with a typewriter alone or with a notebook just and a blank page. There's nothing stimulating about that. You have to create the stimulation. You gotta go into that. And that's really hard, I think.
And I think where people can really, find that challenging is if you don't get the stimulation, you think you're doing something wrong.
Yeah,
Where you're like, "I
yeah,
must not be making progress, or I must be on the wrong path. This feels too boring." But it's like, no, like, doing the boring stuff over and over and over, day after day after day, that's how it gets done.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of a cliche now, but I did see something about how, working out makes you feel like you're weak, but you're actually getting stronger, and studying a new language makes you feel like you're dumb, but you're actually getting smarter every day.
Mm.
And so there is that element of
There's an inverse.
there's an inverse, yeah. It's actually that if you feel pain, you're probably doing something right,
Yeah, if it
and
doesn't feel good.
that's not a very popular idea these days. I think these days it's more about, what feels right and what feels comfortable. But there's a bit of a subtlety with this situation of, what do you do with your life? How do you know you're doing the right thing? Well, if it feels hopeless and like you're in pain.
Yeah, I mean, how have you gone about thinking about that, especially going back to your start of, like, I gave up and then everything started working.
Mhm.
So, what's your relationship look like with decision making and, listening to your intuitions where, "Am I supposed to make this decision or am I not supposed to do this?"
Yeah. It depends on how much life begins to matter. And what I mean by that is I have this relationship with how I view the world and with validation, which is the same thing. I think the world is so big and time is so long, and it's like the old saying in Casablanca: the problems of two people don't amount to a hill of beans in this world. And it's like, well, yeah, between two people, between one person, it doesn't matter what it beats, right? So, like, whatever you do, it doesn't matter, right? It's all gonna go away. And generally, when I have that stance, it's so freeing to realize I don't need to be special. I don't need to succeed. I just have to live my life, try and be the best person for other people, and make someone else's life a little less crappy, and that's a good life. Um, and the pressure to be great is gone. But every once in a while, you'll do something, and then it'll blow up, like a video will blow up or something, and then it'll be like, oh, I got all these likes, all this validation. I am the shit, and suddenly that old thinking comes back of like, oh wait, I do have to be great. I do enjoy the validation. I do have to make a video that gains 1 million views right next time. And so I have this like weird detachment that sometimes I reattach to things when I meet um, any kind of traction or any kind of happiness. Like if I'm hanging out with friends and suddenly the friendships start to get going, and like suddenly life starts to matter again. Or if you fall in love, life starts to matter again. And it's like, oh wait, the problems of two people do amount to a hill of beans in this world. And you start to feel that way again. And once you start to feel that, then your relationship to work and living can get a bit interesting because now you don't want to take the risk of losing that. So,
When you explain all of that, obviously you're a very introspective person. You have a lot of ideas that live within you. It seems like your work then doesn't seem like you're saying coming from a place of ambition, but it's just like, I need to get this out of me.
yeah, I'd say so. Get this out. You deal with it.
How does this make you feel?
Yeah, yeah. It's more like that.
I listened to I know you did a TED Talk, then you did a TED conversation with
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
therapist, and something that stood out to me in that when you were talking, which I found really fascinating, was you shared that you can sometimes get into the habit of using, like, universal "you," like, talking in terms of you, because
Yeah.
it's good for storytelling rather than in actuality, you should just be talking in terms of "I." How have you gone about that friction of just allowing yourself to be a person rather than always needing to be a storyteller or always needing to put it to work?
I think it's it, it's a combination of just trusting that you're not that special. Um, if if I realize I'm not that special and that there's a lot of people just like me or who feel the same way I do, who are afraid of the same things and have the same tastes as I do, then I can just put something out there, be honest, and the odds are a lot more people will find it relatable than I think. I don't have to try to cater to that. And so to me, that's what changes it from you to like, hey, this is just me. I don't know if anyone else feels this way. As opposed to me trying to make something that caters to you and that no, just make it cater to me. And there's a lot more people just like me because I'm not that special, right? And the odds are they're gonna find it interesting too. And I think that was the way I figured that part out.
How has creating your movie, Two Sleepy People, allowed you to understand that friction or be able, or expose you to that friction between your personal self and your storytelling self?
Oh. Um, I think I was going through a really bad breakup at the time, and so when I wrote when we made Too Sleepy, that was incredibly therapeutic. I went to therapy, and it wasn't that great. It was fine. Like it's just like it's just a friend you pay for. That's all it is, isn't it? It's a friend you pay for, and they make you do stuff like journal, and it's like, well, I was gonna do that anyway, but whatever, sure. Um, but writing it myself, like writing that story and like Two Sleepy People, that was incredibly therapeutic for me because it kind of goes back to that thing of you have a question that you genuinely want answered, so you make a video or you make a narrative about that question. Even though you didn't answer the question in the narrative, it emotionally answered it for you by simply making it, and that was that for me. It emotionally closed something that needed closing. And finally, I could close that chapter and put it to rest and finally live my life. And it wasn't absolving myself of shame. It was more like it's okay to feel the shame. Just feel it. And there are some things that you're going to carry for the rest of your life maybe. And to me, I'm thinking, well, hey, maybe that's not that. It's not. It's a very human thing to carry something for the rest of your life. I don't know if animals do the same thing, but hey, I know humans do it. We're going to carry this burden or this emotional bag for a long time. And is that a bad thing? I don't know. I don't think it is necessarily. You know, stereotypically, therapy wants you to do away with your shame and to resolve it. And I think by growing your soul, by creating things, which I think does grow your soul. It's not that that the emotional baggage gets lighter. It's that you get stronger to carry it, and that your soul can now take it a bit more. And it's you still have maybe I still have the shame a little bit and some of that guilt, but it's not like I'm focused or obsessed with making that shame go away now. Now I'm just living with it, and now it's fine, and so I think that's the personal life and the narrative helping each other out there.
It alchemized for you.
Yeah, yeah, it
W
cooked something.
Was it just through the writing process, like, the finalized version of the script that allowed for that therapeutic sense to come out, or did it, like, fully come out with the release of the movie?
Both. Like, a lot of it did come out with the release of the movie, though. Like, a lot of the a lot of it was, we made something, and then we didn't really realize what we made until it was done, and then it's out there, and then it's like, "Oh, yeah, that's what that is." I don't know if that I'm using a lot of, like, ambiguities here, but
It goes back to what you were saying about the writing process
yeah,
of
yeah. It's almost subconscious, like,
yeah.
you almost just do it, and you don't even know what you did. until you look back and say, "Oh, there's a tunnel." Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that's me with every single conversation that I have for the
Yeah.
podcast. I'm
Yeah.
like, "I don't know what just happened."
I feel like it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in the moment.
Yeah.
You're deep within it. You only had 3 months for the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Did
yeah.
the time constraint you feel like was also a strength for you?
Maybe in hindsight. I mean, I don't know. I really wish we had more time. Um, it wasn't meant to be like that. We were meant to have uh, uh almost a year to make it, but it just didn't happen because we didn't know that if the festival was gonna happen, and so we only got the green light, like, start your engines, go, like 3 months. And so we're like, all right, let's start writing it. Let's film it, edit, everything done, 3 months. And I thought it was going to be an experiment. And then the experiment, they wanted to take it to theaters. And I was like, wow, that's unexpected. um, that's a pleasant surprise. I would not have probably agreed to do it if I knew it was going to theaters. But hey, I'm not upset about it. I don't regret it. I actually like that we did it because it's that 3 month thing. You don't have time to think
Mm,
necessarily. You just got to do it. And in a lot of ways, that's more honest.
mm.
If you have time to think about it, you'll lie.
Yeah, what rises to the surface is naturally what wants to come out then.
Yeah.
Do you wanna make another movie, or what do you think?
Yeah, yeah. I'm working on one now. I'm writing one. And the first urge that I had with the book is that I finished writing it and I'm like, "Oh, I learned how to write a book with the first book." I really wish the second book becomes the first book because,
Mm,
like, I learned how to this is my writing school. It's the same with the movie. The first movie is your film school. So I learned to do it through that, and the urge is like, "Hey, that came out well, but oh my god, we could have done this, we could have done that, we could have," and so you learn everything, and suddenly there's this urge to put everything you learned into use, and so there's a lot of that going on where there's like this correcting energy that
mm.
um, where I'm trying to correct and resolve the mistakes I made from the first movie. And there's a lot of I'm excited about this second story too. So
Where are you at in the process? You said you're writing the script for that?
I am writing the script for it, and it's hard to say where I'm at. I guess I'm at the halfway point where I'm not sure. I'm at the halfway point. I'll just put it that way because there's this. I think I get a little scared when I don't really know how it ends. I don't know how this one ends, but it's also exciting, but it is mostly scary. And I'm just trying to let the characters do the work. And the trouble with a screenplay is that it's very lean, and so to me, I start to change the character as I'm writing it.
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be," I should anchor it into who this person is as opposed to like, what do I feel like him doing today?
You have a co-writer or by yourself you're writing
By
this?
myself. Yeah, yeah, I'm doing it solo.
How do you think the writing process sort of shapes your life within, like, the day-to-day of sort of, like, the way that your life is changes on a day-to-day?
Um, if I have a good writing day, I have a good day. If I don't, I hate myself. I just can't stand myself. Yeah, I have this really, really weird thing where I don't feel like I can enjoy myself unless I earned it.
Mm.
And I think that's common with a lot of people. We always feel like we have to earn love, and I still feel that way with here it's writing, and it's like if I don't have a good day, I don't have if I don't have a good writing morning, I don't have a good day, and it really sucks because it dictates my life. Yeah.
You shared that when talking about Two Sleepy People and the stress of that movie, everyone's an atheist until they make a movie. Has your work opened you up to any kinda, like, deeper sense of truth or faith that feels, like, bigger than just you are as a person? Do you have a relationship with faith in some way, or
I mean, I used to. I think I grew up in Missouri, which it's very Christian, but culturally, and so Even though we didn't go to church, I actually know a lot of the church songs. I know a lot about the Bible, even though, we weren't required to read it. I did read it, and I don't know. So when you're culturally associated with a religion, you accidentally start knowing a little bit about that religion, and you start becoming a bit closer to it. And yeah, so I'm not a Christian, or I'm not any kind of religion really, but I'm culturally Christian, I
Mm.
guess. And my family, we pray before every meal. Yet we're not religious. It's so strange. Like, who do we pray to? We pray to God. What does that mean? No one knows. And it was we all prefer to keep it that way, keep it vague. And to this day, I go back and they pray before every meal, and it's not to a Christian God. It's not to any kind of God. It's just to God, whatever that means, and it's great. And so I kind of held that belief where I think there's someone or something out there that's beyond our mental comprehension to understand. So you might as well not, I don't see a point in trying to understand it. I think religions are like a translation to understand it, and it's great. And I just think, you know, something's out there, something's going on that I can't understand, and I can accept that. I know what I don't know, you know, and it's still to me, there's still a lot of value in being thankful to a God of some kind, even if it's yourself, you know?
It's that higher force that saw that you thought you were giving up, and that force was like, "Dude, you have no idea what's in store for you."
I think it is, I think it is. And I have no elegant words to put, to describe that, but I think that's what it is.
Baron Ryan, it's been great talking with you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is an awesome conversation, honestly.
Where
Yeah.
can people go to learn more about you? Any other final thoughts you'd like to share?
I mean, American Baron on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Anything else I'd like to share? Well, I don't like advice. I don't like to give advice because this advice only worked for me. But if you're anything like me, or if you relate to me in any way, maybe this will work for you. Please, to have the discipline to make bad stuff. It takes a lot of discipline to just kill your ego, kill your darling, and the number one darling is yourself.
Mm,
So kill that ego, focus on the doing, and let it be. Yeah.
I love it. I do have one final question for you
Yeah.
because it goes to American Baron. So is the entire story of a meteor hitting the hospital in France, that's all true?
It's all true. Yeah. So an asteroid hits the hospital. My dad was trying to convince the French to name me Baron. They wouldn't allow it. And because Baron is a term of nobility, it's like naming your kids senator. You can't do that. And so he was like, he's a baron in America. And that's how he was trying to
I love it.
describe to them. And didn't work, so he bribed them with brie.
Awesome. Well, great talking with you today.
Dude, yeah, thanks for having me, honestly.